Hello, my name is Aaron R. Tyler, and before we begin this, I would like to thank Jacob for the opportunity to do this interview and him post it on his YouTube channel. I'm very grateful for any publicity that I can get, quite honestly. Jacob has sent me a few questions that he wanted me to answer, so I'm just going to dive right in. The first question is, where did I grow up? I grew up in a very small dairy farming community in northeast Pennsylvania in Bradford County, right near the New York Pennsylvania line. My hometown is called Mosierville, Pennsylvania. When I was there, it was we were very proud to have three stop signs and one yield sign growing up. They've eliminated one of the stop signs when they closed the bridge, so now we don't even have that many. Also, it used to have a general store, which no longer is there either. We never had a post office in the town. Back in the old days, we were rural delivery number two from the next town over, Millerton, Pennsylvania. Uh, the next question was, how old was I when I went in the military? And believe it or not, I had been speaking with the recruiters when I was 16, and my parents were all on board for me enlisting in the military. I, I wanted to get as far away from that small dairy farming community as I could and see the world. So I literally spent my 17th birthday, the absolute first day I could enlist, at the military entrance processing station, or they call it MEPS, in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. So I literally enlisted on my 17th birthday. And I ended up doing 26 years in the United States Navy as a hospital corpsman. I was a Fleet Marine Force corpsman. I was a medical laboratory technician. I was a histology technician, and I finished my career being a independent duty corpsman. Uh, which, if you're not military, it's kind of hard to describe. You're like a doctor, you're like a PA, but you're really not. But you funct, but you you are the medical authority on the ship when it's underway, and sometimes with CB units and Marine units. Excuse me. I was hoping I'd get through this without coughing, but unfortunately, I have a chronic cough that I will have the rest of my life. He wanted to know some of the ways people are disciplined in the military. Fortunately, I was never formally disciplined. When I first went in the military, you could it wasn't strictly legal, but they had what they called fan room counseling, where they could where if you weren't doing things right, they could one or two of the senior guys would take you into a closet or a fan room or out back and have an up close and personal discussion with you and see if that straightened out your attitude. Those days are long gone. But they punishments can be anything from just a written letter, counseling, written counseling, to going all the way to captain's mass. And at captain's mass, you can be reduced in rank by one rank. You can be restricted to base for 45 days. You can have 45 days of extra duty, and they can take half of month's pay from you for 2 months. And then if you commit something that would fall into the lines of a felony, then they have court martials where the range of punishments are just like any other court, and anything from you know some a month in the brig all the way to life imprisonment. So there are a lot of different disciplinary methods that the military has. How did you meet your wife is the next question. I had a crush on my wife when I was in high school. She was 2 years ahead of me, but I had a crush on her. But she didn't even, you know, look at me. I was a little short, skinny, geeky kid. And she was dating the guy that was on the wrestling team and actually went all the way to the States wrestling. So good on her. She graduated 2 years before I did, and I did not see her again for 17 years. And we re-met in 1997. I had been married and divorced a couple of times. She had been married and divorced a couple of times. We re-met. We spent half the night talking and drinking coffee. We got together the next morning, had breakfast, and we've been together ever since. Well, we've been a couple ever since. Most until I retired from the Navy, we didn't spend that much time actually together, living together. Um, when did you decide to be an author? Is the next question. Um, so I have to go through a little bit of my work history. Okay, I already told you. I was in the Navy for 26 years, and there's really no real such thing in the military as an 8-hour day. Maybe there are some, admin jobs and stuff, but for the most part, there aren't any 8-hour days in the military. After the military, after I retired, I had a full-time job while I was going to college full time. I knocked out my master's degree in 4 years and 6 months, and then I became a physician assistant. I got a master's in medical science, and I got my license to be a physician assistant, and I worked in neurosurgery, and I was a neurosurgery PA at a level one trauma center in Jacksonville, Florida, University of Florida Health Center, phenomenal hospital, great trauma center. And then I worked at the Mayo Clinic, and I worked there until I became ill. I and I went from a lifetime of working 12, 14, 16-hour days, 5, 6 days a week, to suddenly being unable to work and being sedentary at home. And I was going crazy and I needed something to do. And I decided I had an idea that I had started a novel many years before that I had written just the first chapter in a notebook. And I found the notebook and I said, you know what, I'm gonna write this novel. And then I decided that after I finished writing it, you know, I was just gonna get it published only for the reason that I could buy copies of it and give it to my kids and grandkids and my parents and my brothers and sisters. Yeah, that was it. And then 6 months later, the book had sold in 6 foreign countries, and I had fans that were sending me messages asking me for a sequel. And that first novel is the Stephen King Killer. It's the first novel of a trilogy called the Twin Tiers Serial Killers. And what the idea behind this novel was, um, I just thought, wouldn't it be weird if some freak started killing people, but he was killing people that had the same names as characters from Stephen King books? And the idea just stuck with me, and I wrote the novel. And like I said, it was more successful than I thought it would ever be. The next question: what was the first thing you ever wrote? Well, I just said that the first thing I ever wrote was a novel. And who were some of your writing influences? I have been a reader all of my life. I have read so much. Stephen King, I love Stephen King. I love both of his sons' work, Owen King and Joe Hill. I like Richard Chismar. I like Clive Barker. I love Peter Straub, Anne Rice, Edgar Allan Poe. Uh, I've read most of Clancy's books. I like so I like military stuff too. Patterson, yeah, and if you read a lot of any author, you take something away from them that you would like to do. You learn something from all of them. So they're all influences on me. I think pretty much every book that I've read had some kind of influence on me. Okay. Is there a subject you would like to write about that I'm intimidated to write about? Well, actually, I read that question and I gave it a lot of thought, and there is absolutely one thing that I would love to be able to write, but I honestly don't think I'd be able to do it. When I was a teenager, I read Richard Adams' Watership Down. And afterwards, I read the rest of his books. Shardik and Traveler um, were the next two that I read. And what I loved about Watership Down and Traveler is Watership Down is a story told from the point of view of rabbits. Traveler is the novel is told from the point of view of General Robert E. Lee's horse, Traveler. And I always wanted to write a novel from an animal's point of view, like one of those, but I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I'd do a good enough job. I think I'd let myself down. Um, Next question. If you could meet just one famous author and you could collaborate with, who would it be and why? Well, it'd have to be Stephen King. Stephen King is the absolute master of horror. I mean, he is at the top. There can be no, there's no other substitute. Uh, what are some of your favorite novels and why? One of the reasons why I love Stephen King is because the good guy doesn't always win, like like in like in my novels, like Pet Cemetery. There is no happy ending to Pet Cemetery. Cujo, there's no happy ending, and you don't know how it's going to end. And so those are the novels that I really enjoy. Is you start reading them and you don't know if it's going to be a happily ever after and everything works out fine, and or the bad guy's going to win. And those are the novels that I really enjoy. Okay, he wants me to talk about my ghost novels, which is and I have written three novels that you could call ghost novels. The first one is The Waifs. Um, the Waifs are a group of outcasts. And they're the kids that just don't fit in with anybody else, and they actually have it worse because they don't fit in with their families either. So they don't get a break at home or at school. They initially become friends because, quite frankly, nobody else would sit with them at the lunch table. And but they became friends, and then they banded together. And of course, the bullies were being bullies. I mean, they just were, and the kids and things were going, but they were doing what kids do. They duck away from bullies and whatnot, and they were managing to keep a low profile kind of until one of them was accused of being a rat and turning in one of the bullies for vandalism. And then the bullying becomes near fatal. Well, what makes I know none of that sounds like a ghost story. The waifs have a fishing cabin that one of their parents own that they do not know is actually a sanctuary for tortured souls. And that's where they go to play Dungeons and Dragons, and that's their place. Well, then one day the bullies show up. That the souls they have in it. It's a pretty good book. My next straight up ghost story that actually has some of the same characters and places as the book The Waves. It's my book that just was released March 1st, 25. Revenge is Good for the Souls. Now, we've all seen television shows and movies and read books about people that either for all their life or sometime for something happens and they can see and talk and interact with ghosts. But all of those, every single one of those, have one thing in common. They end kind of warm, fuzzy, and happy. You know, the person does something for the ghost, and they're either to find the light, or they cross over, or they got peace, or they got closure, or something, and it ends warm and fuzzy. I mean, even Sixth Sense kind of ends warm and fuzzy. I mean, you know, the boy finds his purpose. He's no longer afraid. He's helping them, and he's getting along with, you know. So you know, but they're all like that. Well, I thought one day, well, what about if the ghosts don't want to cross over? What if they're forced to walk the earth but unable to interact with any people? Just watch what they're doing. And they're able to see the people that tormented them and tortured them and killed them in some cases, walking around living their life with no consequences. And they haven't been able to do anything about it. But now there's a guy that had a near death experience that can see and hear them, and they can use him. And they're not going to give him a minute's rest until he does what they want him to do. So that just come out, and I'm very happy with it, the way it came out, turned out. And so there we are. So those are my ghost stories. Right now, what book are you writing now? I normally take a break in between my novels, but I had a kernel of an idea pop into my head. I don't have a title for the book yet, but the basic premise is a absolutely brilliant neurosurgeon develops a way to cure post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's a surgical procedure where he is able to actually go in and extract the memory from the person. And if the memory is no longer in their brain, then they can no longer then they don't remember the trauma and they don't have flashbacks from it. It's not, you know, it cures PTSD. And of course, this is a, a phenomenal thing. And then the idea comes up of, well, if you have these memories, can you implant them in somebody else? And maybe we can pass a law to implant these memories as part of violent offenders sentencing, be part of their prison sentence. So they implant a memory in convicts that is, in some cases, a memory from their victim, or or a memory from somebody that had a similar that had PTSD from a attack similar from what they did to the person. Um, yeah. So uh, and then it's like, well, there are a lot of people out there that did bad things that haven't got caught yet. So it just I'm not sure, and quite honestly, I have no idea how it's going to end. I really don't. And that's what I love about when I just start with an idea, I start writing, and I have no idea who my characters are going to be. I have no idea um, how it's going to end. I have no idea where it's going to go. I just go wherever the story takes me. Uh, how many promotional tours do you go on for your books? I used to, well, I go on a promotional tour every book that I have written. Um, but because of my failing health, the last couple of years, I only did like 3 or 4 per year book signings at different places. Uh, how successful have my books sold? I guess it depends on what you consider to be successful. Physical books have probably sold 2,000 total. Um, Kindle Unlimited, my books are all on Kindle Unlimited, so they're free to Kindle Unlimited subscribers, and I've had over 3,000 of my books downloaded and read on Kindle Unlimited. Uh, so, so, you know, 5,000 or so books have been sold, and you know, it's not a lot, but it when you think about it, I was just looking for something to fill my time, and so that's more fun. And I only published my first book because I wanted to give a copy to family and friends. So everything above that is gravy. I'm happy with where I'm at. And what is your book writing goal number? You know what? I'm probably gonna write as long as I can. I don't have a set number of books that I want to write. I already have an idea for my next book that's going to be an apocalyptic book. I have the basic workings of how that's going to work, and so I'm going to keep writing as long as I have an idea that I think is good, and more importantly, I'm going to keep writing as long as my books keep getting 4.5 and 5-star ratings and phenomenal reviews. So, again, I'm Aaron R. Tyler. My books are all available on Amazon, and thank you very much, Jacob, for letting me have this time to interview on your YouTube channel.